Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all here tonight. We're doing our live Finance Friday, um, live here from beautiful Tampa Bay in Florida. It is 10 p.m., a little bit on the late side, but that's how we like it here. So I'm going to be talking tonight about banking. How do we become our own bank, right? And before I dive into it, I want to give a little bit of an intro on myself. My name is Jerry. I'm the owner and founder of a company called Wealth Dynamics. And what we do is we help people learn the truth about money. We help them become financially solvent, financially educated. We help them gain greater and greater financial freedom with the hopes that they will then go around and share that information with others and spread the truth about money. And the reason why is the truth about money is not something I grew up with. Okay, I grew up with a lot of myths about money. I grew up with a lot of falsehoods about money. And I think a lot of us did, and a lot of us still do live in those falsehoods and myths, and some of us have no idea. So if you're watching me for the first time, tonight, some of what we're going to cover is going to be maybe mind-blowing. It might be unbelievable. It might be things that you have to go Google and fact check and verify. I know I did when I learned about it, right? For some of you guys, if you've been watching before, if you're a client of mine already, this is not new information and it's stuff we've talked about before, but tonight I want to give you a different viewpoint on a few things. Okay, I want to give a change in perspective because I think what happens is, we can become so normalized to the idea of, being the bank and investing and earning passive income and earning, the spread between what we borrow at and what we earn at it that becomes normal. And then we just continue on with our lives and we have these strategies and tactics in place, but we don't actually change anything other than that because we're like, hey, I got my life insurance policy, I'm good now, right? I got my gold and silver, I'm good now. And there definitely is a mindset, and that's what I want to cover tonight. We're going to talk about, how to become the bank, but I want to talk about the main difference that most of us will come to, fruition conclusion on regarding the bank that we don't even know that we've concluded on why we can't actually do it. Right. And I'm talking about, I've had this, right? I own several life insurance policies, hundreds of thousands of dollars in gold and silver, private lending deals, mobile homes, real estate, you name it. And I still have to remind myself of this because the way the banking system is set up is so insidious that what we're going to talk about tonight is something we can all do, but we don't think we can because we're like, well, we're not actually the bank. Right. So, I want to preface this with, as we're going through this, regardless of whether you're that first group, you're that second group, or maybe you're a different group altogether and you have no idea what you're watching here, this is something that can be simple and it can be applied, and all of us can win with the information that I'm going to share tonight. So I grew up poor, right? Food stamps, we live below poverty threshold on our income. I've lived in trailers, I've lived in tents, I've lived in the woods, I've lived in abandoned houses. And so it's not something where I grew up with money, right? So everything that I'm going to share with you tonight is stuff that I bootstrapped, that I figured it out myself, I learned it myself, I applied it myself. And so I want to share it with you from that same standpoint so that you don't think I'm some, well put together, always been wealthy, got it from my parents guy that doesn't have any perspective on life. Because the stuff I'm going to share, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, easy for you to say, right? 28-year-old millionaire, of course, right? But I want to tell you that's not where I was 10 years ago. Okay, so really like realize this is simple, applicable. And as we're going through this, I want to hit some things I cover every week. First, if I say anything that doesn't make sense to you, let me know in the comments. Okay, tell me right away if you have a question on something, if there's a word that you don't understand. The key to understanding this information that we're going to cover is number one, vocabulary, right? The words that I use, they need to be simple and they need to be words that you understand too. So A, if you don't understand it, let me know. And also go look it up. There's a responsibility level there because the financial industry is not going to slow down, not even for us, right? So we have to be willing to learn. The second barrier is mathematics. And when you realize all of this comes down to basic vocabulary and basic mathematics, the barriers on entry of this information come way down. We can all understand it if we can look up words and understand the math behind it, right? Second thing, be appropriate in the comments, be supportive, be respectful, be a contributor, be a producer. Don't be a consumer, right? Don't just take. And then thirdly, we will go live with your questions at the end as always. We're down here in Florida a couple weeks in, so we will try and wrap up a little earlier than we used to. We'll probably go for a good 30, 40 minutes and then answer questions. So guys, without further ado, I'm gonna hit my topic tonight. All right. And that topic is becoming the bank. Okay. And what I mean by that is in our lives, before I knew this information, everything about my day-to-day life revolved around the bank somehow. I would earn my income, right? Let's actually sketch this out. I would earn my income, and where would that income immediately get deposited? Right? It would immediately go to the bank, right? Checking account. And I'm talking from the age of 16, right? Like they got my first bank account, first job, started putting money in the checking account. Then we're told, okay, well, we have the checking account, but a checking account is not good enough. We need to further entrench our money in the bank with a savings account. And this is early on, right? And then, we start building up some savings and they're like, hey, you're 18 now. You need to get a car. Let's get you a loan. Right? So we have a loan. Now we have more income going to the bank. Right? And then we have the loan and they're like, great, you have a job, you have a loan, you got to start paying taxes now. Okay, well, taxes, they go to a bank. This is a special bank called a central bank. Still a bank. Right? And then we're working and it's like, okay, great. Everyone around us is having kids and they're buying homes. We need to buy a home too, but we don't have $300,000. So we're going to borrow that from the bank, right? So we have now our housing costs going to the bank. And then we're putting money into, our retirement plans at work because the 401k is the right thing to do. And we're getting a free employer match. And so our investments go to Wall Street, which is also a bank. However, it's an investment bank. And so before we know it, we earn our income. Before we ever get paid off the top, it goes to the IRS. They give it to a bank, right? So the money goes to the bank there. Then as soon as we get it, it goes into the checking account. The bank has it again, right? From the checking, we put it in the savings. We've already done our 401k, which went to a bank. And then we start paying our loans and our credit cards and our housing costs. And the bank gets literally almost every single penny we bring in. Think about that. Like that blew my mind when I realized literally every single dollar that I earn in some way, shape, or form is going into the hands of a bank at the end of the day. All of it. Right? Unless I keep cash in my basement. I know I've got some clients that do that are watching, but unless I'm doing that, right? And I have other alternative solutions, this is true. And so the idea is, okay, well, how can I build wealth? How can I, become financially independent if I'm giving them all my money? This idea of pay yourself first. I learned pay yourself first when I was 18 years old, pay myself first. And I thought I was by putting my money here, by putting my money here, and by putting my money here, right? Sticking it in checking, sticking it in savings, and giving it to Wall Street. And I thought I was paying myself first, but I really wasn't. Somehow they flipped that. And now I think I'm paying myself first when I'm really paying them first. Right. So the bank is extremely profitable. If you take the banking industry, as a whole, it's one of the most profitable industries, not only in modern times, but in historical times. You can go back, thousands and thousands of years, and you'll see, the bank has always been in the profit business. Okay, they've always controlled, the deposits, they've always controlled the lending, they've always controlled the gold, they've always controlled the wars, the poverty, the famine. It's always been the banking system, and it still is today. And so I have to look at that and I have to decide, okay, is financial freedom important to me? Not is it realistic, not is it something I've learned about, not is it something I think is achievable, is it important? Is it a priority in my life? Because if it's a priority in my life, I can go learn about it. I can go get connected with the right people. I can go figure this stuff out, right? But if it's not a priority, like turn off the stream, because nothing I talk about tonight is going to matter, because it's not an important subject for you in the first place. But I think for most of us, finances and financial freedom is important, right? I would like to be in a position where I don't have to trade time for money, right? I'm very close to being there personally at the age of 28, right? So it is important. I've made it a priority. You've made it a priority by getting on here tonight. So how do we do it? And this is kind of where my company specializes, is helping you become the bank. So we look at a couple of things. We look at, okay, first things first with the bank, we have to look at there's three different layers here. Okay. The first layer is structure, right? So structure, and actually I'm going to say the first layer, there might be more than three. I'm going to renege on my three here. There might be four layers. So we've got, let's say, four different layers to create a bank. The first one is capitalization. We actually have to have money to start a bank. Like if I was going to go start a state chartered bank or a federally chartered bank, first thing they look at is, Jerry, do you have the funds? Right? And I'm talking if I was literally going to start a bank, but figuratively, if I was starting my own bank, I would also need to capitalize. I would need to have funds set aside. I would need to be coming from a place where I've got reserves, I've got money set aside. And so I can't do that again if the bank has all of it. So we need to make sure we've got money set aside. We have to capitalize. And so we talk about with our clients, becoming financially solvent, having money set aside, being able to actually have reserves and start to capitalize and fund our own bank. So that has to be there. An actual bank, I think the minimum is like 5 million. Okay, could be more, but that's where we need to start. So if I'm trying to capitalize my own bank, I don't need to have 5 million, which is the good news. Okay, I need to have 6 months of reserves and be out of debt. Okay, no consumer debt. I can't be giving my profits and proceeds to them instead. It's got to come to me. So the second thing here is structure. Right? Fundamentally speaking, the benefit of a banking system is the ability to take a deposit, money that was put into the account, put into the bank, have that deposit growing in that account, and also borrow against it multiple times and put it somewhere else. Okay, for those that don't understand what that means, this is called fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking means that I put my money in the bank. They don't just leave it in the box. They don't just leave it in the safe. They actually loan my deposits out, and they can do that an unlimited amount of times. In March of 2020, the reserve requirement went to zero, meaning that the banks don't have to keep any of your money on deposit. They can loan all of it out. And so essentially that turns into infinite banking, right? I give them $1. They can loan my dollar to as many people as they want to, as many times as they want to, and earn interest every single time, all off my $1, right? This is called structure. Okay, in the investment world, we call this arbitrage. Arbitrage means that I earn one rate, I borrow at another rate, which is a cost, and then I take those funds I've borrowed and then I earn at another rate. And so I have a positive here, and I have a positive here, and I have a cost here. This positive out earns this cost. This positive also out earns this cost. And so I'm double dipping with the same money. Okay, now this is where we have, the life insurance. This is where we have, that's called our tier 1 account. This is where we have, gold and being able to borrow against that. We call that our tier 2 account. This is where we have, the first position HELOC, being able to borrow against the house. That's our tier 3 account. And so this is where we see that as well, right? And so a lot of times we hear about structure, and this is where I was saying at the beginning of this course, we stop there. I have my policy. Awesome. I'm covered. I have my gold. Awesome. I'm covered. I have my home equity line of credit. Awesome. I'm covered. But there's more to this, right? And the obvious part of this is the investment. And this is the one we all get excited about, the investment, right? So we're earning here, we borrow at this cost so that we can put it here. Here is the investment, right? And this is in banking, we're doing private lending. A bank's investment portfolio is typically private loans, right? They're loaning out to individuals, they're loaning out to corporations, they're loaning out on real estate. And I'll talk about why that's important in a second, okay? But what happens, what I see is we see clients that are like, okay, I've got some money. Let's set up a tier 1 sacred account. Let's fund this, which is the life insurance, right? And then let's wait till we can invest. Okay, because when we invest, we need $50,000. And then we start getting impatient because it takes a while. We realize how much money $50,000 is. If I'm making, the average American household makes, 50, $60,000 a year. And so if I'm doing all this and I'm like, wait, I need to save $50,000 and that's what I make in a year, that's going to take me forever. But what happens is we either slowly give up on it, and then we stop logging into Wealth Dynamics University, and we quit logging in on the Facebook group, and we quit interacting, and then we forget about our blueprint steps, and we slowly go down this dwindling spiral of financial apathy, or we just keep plowing away. Okay, and we're like, okay, it's going to take 4, 5, 6 years, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to make it happen, right? Well, neither of those actually work in banking, right? Like imagine a bank where I capitalize and I start up, and then it's 6 years before I can extend my first mortgage loan out to someone, or 6 years before I can give a car loan out, or 6 years before I can extend someone a credit card, right? What that means is my capital is just going to sit there earning this rate, and I won't be able to borrow and invest because there's nothing I can invest in because I don't have the money to invest yet because it's taking too long. And at that point, there's no reason to start a bank because I'm just going to sit there stagnant in the water, right? So what is the missing link here? The missing link here is initially the bank capitalizes with their startup funds. They have their reserves, they have the money they're putting into it, but the missing link here is deposits, right? A bank doesn't just only keep their own money. They have a product called a savings account and a checking account and a certificate of deposit, right? And that product or that service attracts other people's dollars into the banking system. And so now we have all of these other dollars coming in, and the bank can start to use these to put into the structure and then borrow out from that structure and put into loans. And that's how a bank takes off. It's called monetary velocity, speed at which money moves, right? So I need to have capitalization, I need to have structure, I need to have deposits, and then I need to be able to invest in order to truly run this bank. Okay, so for me, here's what happened. I'm a couple of years back, just getting started in the life insurance and the banking concepts and learning about this. I used to be a financial advisor. I gave that up. I reformed myself, learned about this, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I need to start my policy and structure it correctly, and then I can start investing. And then I started waiting. I was like, all right, saving, putting money aside. I'm saving, putting money aside. Why is this taking so long? And then I looked at, okay, well, I'm missing the deposits. I don't have deposits. And initially I was like, well, how do I get deposits? And I was really into, Robert Kiyosaki at the time. And I was like, oh, OPM, other people's money. You just borrow it from them, right? Because everyone wants to give a 25-year-old boy money, right? So I was thinking that's the deposits, OPM. But it turns out that's not. That's the difference here that I want to point out. Is I thought I couldn't literally be the bank because I didn't have the ability to take in other people's money, right? But think about it. The bank, they're sure that's what they're doing on paper. It's your deposits that they're loaning out. It's your stuff that they're making money on. But at the end of the day, it's sales. This is the difference. At the end of the day, it's sales. The bank has the ability to advertise and market to you, right? So we have the bank, put the little pillars out front. This is an ugly bank, but nobody cares. They have the ability to advertise to you and get your attention and get interest from you in their product so that you give them dollars. It doesn't matter if it's a deposit or if it's other people's money. It is a payment that flows to them from somebody else, and they do it in volume. Okay, I was so one-track minded that I was like, okay, well, it has to be someone else's money, and it has to be a deposit, and it has to be some kind of a loan or something like that. And then I realized, no, it doesn't. It has to be the ability to earn income. The ability to sell is a deposit, right? Because what the bank does is they're going to get your dollars, and you're putting your dollars into their account. Their checking account, their savings account, their certificate of deposit, whatever account it is you use at the bank, right? And we look at that as like, okay, well, yeah, the money is there. and I can pull the money out of there and it's there. So it's not like a product or a service. And I didn't really buy anything because the money's technically still there. I can pull it out. Well, no, it's not actually. If you've watched any of my videos, you know about banking. When you give the money to them, like I mentioned at the very beginning of that video, they do not just stick it in the account. There's a digit, right? So they put a digit in the account that signifies an IOU. You gave them an unsecured loan. They gave you an IOU. They actually took your money and they're doing things with it, right? They're doing things with it. In a way, you bought a product. That was a sale. They make profit on your money. Okay. And then they're going to take that profit and they're going to reinvest it back into their bank and sell you a loan and a credit card and a mortgage and a savings account and a CD and everything else that they have in their portfolio. And they're going to do that with thousands of people. Okay, I have the ability to do this. Now, it doesn't have to be a deposit. I'm not a literal bank. I'm not FDIC insured or state chartered, and neither are you, but I can have a product or a service just like the bank does. Theirs is called a checking account. Mine can be called whatever. Mine can be called gym memberships or supplements or financial services or real estate or gold and silver or carpet cleaning or haircuts or whatever it would be. I have to have a product or a service. I have to, because the bank does. Theirs is called an account. Mine is called whatever it's called. It's not going to be called an account because I'm not literally an FDIC insured bank. I can't tell people I sell accounts. Okay. But it doesn't have to be. That's the beauty of it. My product can be whatever I think is wanted and needed in the marketplace. And I can get in communication with people. Right? The bank does that. They get my attention. They get in communication with me. They get my interest. So that I think at 16 years old, I need to go open up a checking account with them. They're very, very good at that. That's called promotion and marketing, right? So they have a product, they promote their product and they market their product. I can do that and you can do that, right? Now the question is, do I know how to? And am I actually willing to? Two different things, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I can get this person's attention, get their interest, and then exchange with them to get their dollars. That's a deposit. Okay, now check this out. This is better than a bank because I don't have to give it back. Okay, the bank has to give it back at some point because the dollar in the account, this guy can say, I'm going to withdraw it, and then the bank is short that dollar. Okay, so in a way, I have an advantage on the bank because I can sell a product just like they can. Okay, and I can have the same volume and margins and everything. Like that's totally up to me and my way that I do this as an entrepreneur, right? But at the end of the day, I don't have to give the product back to them. I don't have to give the money back to them. The bank does. So the stain that I had of like, well, I can set up the structure and sure, I can capitalize it and I can invest it, but the bank's always going to be ahead because man, they have OPM and they have deposits. No, they have a product and a service and they're really good at marketing it and selling it. And at the end of the day, I can do all the same things. Level playing field. Okay. So the question then becomes, how many people can I do this with? Right? If I can have thousands of people, like we said with the bank, and they're all interested in what I have to offer, and they're all willing to pay for what I offer because I have a good product and a good service, these all represent deposits now. They're depositing into my bank, right? And so that's really how we have to look at this. Because at the end of the day, if we don't, then it's going to take forever. It's never going to happen at all. And here's the other thing that I want to go over on this is the product and service on this cannot be my own time. Bad product and service, because there's only 24 of those in a day. And I'm not saying don't have a job, and I'm not saying jobs are stupid. If you have a job, great. What about from 5 to 8 p.m.? What about on Saturday and Sunday? Like if I'm just selling my time, I can only sell what I have. If I'm selling a product, I can sell as much as I can get because the product isn't me. It's not finite. Okay, even with a service, like a service, I'm limited to scalability of what I can perform and those around me can perform. So I have to really think about this. In the bank, they sell products and services. At some point, I do need to sit down with a banker. At some point, I do need to sit down with a loan officer. They will perform a service for me. But a lot of the bank stuff, they have products as well that take no time at all. Am I doing that? Because if I'm not, then I don't have enough deposits coming in to build up to actually do the investing cycle. You see, and I want to reiterate this because for me, I was hard-headed and I didn't want to see it. I wanted to say, okay, yeah, technically I can get your metaphor, but it's not literal. The bank still has an advantage because they have all these people. No, they sell a freaking product. They sell a savings account, and a lot of people know about the savings account. A lot of people are interested in the savings account, so they buy the savings account. Now the bank has money. They could put the money in the system, and then they can take the money and borrow it out of the system and put it into the deals. I can literally do the same thing. You can literally do the same thing. Okay. And I said the barriers to this are to actually know how to do this, right? Am I actually willing to do it? Right. And then am I actually doing it? Am I taking action? Okay, this is where the old sales thing or entrepreneur thing comes in. And a lot of us hesitate on this because of our peers around us. Right? We all know that we should go make more money. That's not a hard thing to figure out. We're all pretty aware of that. We're like, yeah, more money earned is better, right? Like internally, we all know that. But what happens is we start thinking about, well, what would my friends say? What would my family say? What would my pastor think? What would my boss think? What would my coworkers think? I don't want to be the money guy. I don't want to be money motivated. I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to not fit through the eye of the needle. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to this. I don't want to that. At the end of the day, even your church does what the bank does. Every Sunday, they ask for an offering. Even they know they need income, right? Your friends and family that say, hey, don't be so greedy, they have jobs. So even they know they need income. So we have to know, okay, I need money, I need deposits, but we also have to know how to get the deposits. And there's tons of, this is not going to be a sales training course, even though I could put that on. But what I'm going to tell you is it comes down to the ability to understand the wants and needs of others. What do others actually want and need? Not what is trending on Instagram and Facebook, right? Not as what is the media doing, not what do I want, because if it was me, I could just sell stuff to myself all day and I'd be a billionaire. Turns out that doesn't work. I have to sell to other people. I have to fulfill their needs. And that's how I get deposits. Imagine if the bank said, okay, and they kind of do say this, which is ironic, but imagine if they said, okay, we're going to sell a product, but it's only going to be about what we want. In a way, it kind of is because they get the long end of the stick and they definitely screw us over, but they still know how to promote it the way we want it. Safety, security, accessibility, convenience, right? It's the shittiest product in the world, but they promote it and promote it and promote it, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people per bank, hundreds of millions across the country, billions across the world, all use the banking system, even though it's a terrible product. Because the bank even understands it's about the wants and needs of others. Now, they're not honest, and so they do take a crappy product and they do dress it up and they do make it sound really well and use these buzzwords that get us emotionally attached to giving them our money, but you don't have to do that. Imagine if you had a good product and you actually knew that that product served the wants and needs of others. Okay, and that product wasn't your time. I want to reiterate this. It can't just be your time, right? Your time is not that valuable to other people. That's why there's a minimum wage. That's the minimum amount of money that someone is willing to pay you for your time. Okay, but if you can look at things like, okay, people want safety, people want security, people want health, people want to understand things, people want to feel important. Like these are the real things you should be looking at when you're looking at what is valuable to other people. And if you're not sure, ask. Okay, and don't ask the people that tell you they're not going to get involved with your network marketing and that you're going to fail and this and that. Those aren't the people that are ever going to buy from you. Most of my family doesn't do business with me. That's fine, right? They're not the people I'm trying to help. So I don't ask for their opinion. I ask for the opinion of the people that are interested in help, that are supportive, that are reaching, that are wanting what I have to offer. So if you're not sure, ask, and then you show them that, right? And so you have to know how to do that. It's simply communicating and continuing to. Right? This is a game of consistency. One thing that I can give props to on the banking system and Wall Street too, they are so good at propaganda. Like I said, they have a terrible product, but for literally, decades upon decades, they beat the same drum. right? They say it over and over and over. The savings account rate's great. It's liquid, it's safe, it's convenient. We will give you a credit card, we'll give you this. And all of the messages of the banking world, we know and understand simply because they've consistently promoted that to us. Okay, so there's an element there of if I'm going to be a bank, it's not just I have a life insurance policy in silver. Okay, there's the exchange factor and there's also the consistency of message. You guys see how much I post? It's the same stuff all the time. Okay, I might say it differently. I might dress it up differently. I might do a post a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, my Facebook, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, it is the same stuff over and over and over and over. Sometimes it gets a lot of likes, sometimes it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who clicked it. It's did you see it? And is that message ingrained in your head? Okay, the banks, like think about when you watch CNBC or Fox News, how many commercials do you see about banks? They don't know if you're actually clicking on their website and Googling them. They don't care. They know that you saw the commercial. That's all they want. They want you to see the commercial so that you continue to do business with them and make your deposits, right? Now, secondarily is, am I actually willing to do this? The banks totally are, right? Like the products and services that some of us may still be investing in, the mutual fund and the 401k and the savings account. Those are not like organic products and services that are intrinsically valuable that came to us through osmosis. No. A bunch of executives sat down in a boardroom and they built those. And they built it off of what we just talked about here. And then they were willing to put them out in the marketplace and to put some capital at risk and to risk their reputations a little bit and do some work and get uncomfortable to get people to buy the products. Are you willing to do that? Because if you're not, I don't think you can become a bank. Okay, am I actually willing to sell? Am I actually willing to market? Am I actually willing to promote? Because what I'll tell you is this is not the work 40 hours, clock out, spend the rest of the time as a consumer. This is not the wealth dynamics plan. We're trying to help you become a producer. So that means that if I have a 40-hour week job, that's great. That's how I earn my main base income. That's something I had when I first started in business. I had a job. But in my free time, I was willing to go out and I was willing to build a business. And I was willing to fail for a couple of years. And I was willing to promote and I was willing to get uncomfortable. Okay. And so the willingness has to come from realizing that if it doesn't happen, then none of this is right. Like I said, we have the capitalizing, we have the structure, and then we have the depositing, and then we have the investing. Well, if I skip this part, the deposits, which like we're saying is selling a product or a service and getting income to deposit, if I skip this, then I capitalize, I save up some money, I buy a life insurance policy, I buy some gold and silver, I buy a line of credit, whatever it might be, and then I wait. And I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait. And finally, at some point I invest. One thing you'll learn about investing though is if I invest $50,000 at 12%, which is a great rate, I'm going to get $500 a month coming in. Okay, well, $500 goes into 50,000 100 times. So it's going to take me 100 months, almost 10 years before I can do another deal. That's too long, guys. And so this is really the willingness. And like I said, there's a mindset here. There's a mindset. There's a factor of wanting financial independence bad enough that it is a hunger. It's something I think about on a regular basis. I'm willing to go after, right? And it's not like a desperation, right? So it's not you have to go sleazy and rip people off. But I'm saying it's important. There's a constant hunger of I have to get there. I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to take, instead of working, and doing the slow game for the next 40 years of my life, I'm willing to cram it into 10 so that I can have the other 30 years that I would have worked to myself and to my family and to my friends and my community instead. Okay. So if you talk to any great entrepreneur, and all bankers started as entrepreneurs, they were like that. They were hungry, they were motivated, they were willing to sell, they were willing to get messy. They had a willingness to do whatever it took as long as it's ethical and moral. Right? As long as it's ethical and moral, you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting anybody else, then there should be no consideration about going full bore in order to generate the deposits to fund your banking system. Okay, sure, your uncle might say you're greedy at Christmas dinner, right? At the end of the day, he can't donate to the charities. You could say he's greedier than you are, right? You might get some weird looks from friends, family, acquaintances, random trolls on social media that say you post too much. I had one this week. I posted a picture of me eating a donut. I love donuts, right? And the guy's like, "You post about donuts too much." It's like, dude, you've never done business with me. I don't even know who you are. Why are you commenting on my thing? You're going to get some of that, but you're also going to get deposits. You're going to get deposits into your bank. And that is the only thing that matters is, are you building that up? Okay. And again, this is not some shark, ruthless, go rip people off. No, you're delivering a valuable product. I expect you to have the ethics and morals to do that. Right. And then finally is taking the action. Okay, taking the action. I was listening to someone today and he made a great point, and I've said this before. It's so easy for us to get caught up in passive income. Passive income. And passive income is the key to financial freedom, right? So there's some truth to that, because the equation is passive income greater than savings, expenses, taxes, right? So we get caught up on passive income and passive income, passive income, passive income. We forget about active income, right? Passive income means that I put capital at work, I put money at work, I'm earning a rate on that money and it's coming back to me. Passive income is slow and consistent, and it's a game of volume, meaning I get lots of them and build them up over time. Okay, passive income does not get you rich quick. It gets you rich slowly and for sure and forever, right? Quick comes from active. So if I go pull up JP Morgan's balance sheet and I look at their profit and loss, Bank of America, I'm going to see what they bring in on their loans and interest and their investment portfolio, and then I'm going to see what they bring in deposits. And I guarantee you the number that they bring in deposits, which is active, is significantly higher than what they're earning in passive. Now, it doesn't mean JP Morgan and the executives there are not financially free. They could probably quit bringing in any new customers and be just fine, right? But at the end of the day, they have active income. Active income is what I get when I sell, when I exchange value with someone. And that income, it can come in all shapes, sizes, and sorts, right? So like I said, if I take 50,000 and I do a deal at 12%, that's $500 per month, right? I have to get another 50 and another 50 and another 50 and another 50 and keep going until that builds up. And it's enough for me to say, great, this number is now greater than this, right? But if I do it through sales and marketing and like I say, deposits, getting my deposits, I can close one deal and have that exceed my savings, expenses, and taxes for this month and next month, several months, a year. There's no limit on it. And I can do that as many times as I want to. These deals, they're only going to happen once a month. When I take the 50 and I invest it, they will only pay me once a month. That's how the deal works. I can't get them to pay me more money, and I can't get them to pay me more frequently. Right? With this, I can get more, I can get it faster, I can get it more frequently if I am willing to provide for the wants and needs of others, if I'm willing to do what it takes to get there, and if I'm willing to put in the action. Okay. And the faster that I do that, the more real this banking thing becomes. Right. So when I'm going through this, like I have to look at these things again, like I said, capitalize, structure, deposits, and then investments. Right. And it's in this order. So guys, that's mostly what I wanted to talk about tonight, but I want to really stress, like, there are some of us watching that get this. They're like, okay, good. I need to get into maybe I'm already an entrepreneur and I need to hit the gas pedal harder, or maybe I just realized I'm not. I do have just a 9-to-5 job or a salary job, and I need to figure out how to get more deposits. And then there's some of us watching this that are like, yeah, that's a cute metaphor, but still the bank has an advantage. Okay, they have an advantage because of that mindset. The mindset that says I can't because they're better than me, because they have an advantage they don't have, that's called a victim mentality. Okay, and a victim mentality will never succeed at this part of the game. A victim, they can save money, they can set up a life insurance policy, they can do a deal, right? But a victim can't be cause over this situation to the point where they attract capital to them. Okay, because investors and clients, they don't want to do business with a victim. I was a victim when I started this because I was that skeptic. I was like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you gotta sell, you gotta earn it. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be this, I don't want to be that. And then I realized, no, this does not work without that. So I can either keep blaming the banks, I can keep blaming Wall Street, I can keep blaming the IRS, or I can say, okay, great, they suck, they're an obstacle, but I can still win the game and I can do all of the things they can do. But I can sell a product, I can market myself, I can do all of this stuff, right? But I had to step out of victimhood to actually be willing to put the knowledge in. And here's the trap that we fall into here, and I'm going to wrap up soon on this, but the trap that we can fall into is, number one, turning knowledge into consumption. I talked about this maybe a year ago, with knowledge, it's an inflow activity, right? I'm learning, right? It's kind of like eating, right? I can get mentally fat where I learn and learn and learn and never use it, never burn it off, and I become mentally obese, intellectually obese, right? And the main thing that I see with this, the indicator for me is, when somebody is a producer, okay, they speak from experience because they've done it, right? Like, think about going to a restaurant. There's two people there. There's the chef that cooks it, there's the person that eats it, right? True or false, the criticism that a dish will get or a meal will get from a chef is going to sound very different than the criticism that a dish or a meal is going to get from a patron, a customer, right? The chef knows what they're talking about. They're going to say, hey, you could have done this better, you could have done that better, right? And it's actually like an expertise, right? Versus the customer, bless their heart, but it's more like connoisseurism. Like, oh, I've had better, but they can't actually point to what was better or what was worse, right? That's because they've consumed and consumed and consumed, but it's never turned into production. With knowledge, you can get to the point, I've gotten to this point where I consume and I learn, and I'm learning about sales, I'm learning about marketing, I'm learning about finance, I'm learning about this, and I never do anything. And I become this snooty little knowledge connoisseur. Oh, that was a good course, but I've heard that before, right? And what I have to say to that, God bless your heart, is, you mental fat ass, go do something, right? We have this knowledge, we actually have to go apply it. Otherwise, we do just turn into a mentally obese person. And so we have to make sure that this doesn't happen. Knowledge has to be turned into production. It's kind of like consume, burn calories, right? Fill gas tank up, drive the car. We wouldn't put more gas in the car if we didn't drive it yet, because it doesn't need more gas because we didn't go anywhere. Knowledge is the same way. So this is a barrier that we have to watch out for. The other one here is, again, on the willingness side, right? Willingness, but, okay. But is a contradiction. Jerry, I understand this. Jerry, I totally get it. I'm willing, but my wife, my kids, my job, my husband, COVID, this, that, the economy, right? But is a contradiction. It's literally, it makes half of my statement a lie. I'm willing, but, and everything that comes after the word but contradicts the entire first part of the sentence, meaning either half the sentences is a lie or the entire thing is a lie, right? I'm totally willing to improve my finances, but means that I'm either not willing to, and I'm just giving lip service, or it means that I am willing to, but I'm making an excuse and the but part's not true, or both of them aren't true, right? And I'm just wasting everyone's time. And this is a trap that I fell into, where I was like, I know this, I understand it, doing a little bit of the consumption thing, a little bit mentally obese. I'm totally willing to, I want this, I'm motivated, but, and then I wouldn't actually do anything, right? And then the final part is the action, right? And I want to say this, if you can at least get into action on this, earning more income, right? Because it's easy to cut expenses, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. We have the Diddy program that we run down on people, that we help them reduce their debt, insurance, taxes, investments. That is reduction of expenses, right? We have, a tax plan, that's reduction of expenses. We have the home equity credit, that's reduction of expenses. We have our debt buyout method, that is reduction of expenses. So this is not the increase the income because budgeting is stupid. You should budget. I guarantee you Bank of America and JP Morgan have a budget, right? But also the sandwich. I have one side of the sandwich, which is the expense part, which I should focus on, and that will help, but also the income is much more helpful. Okay, so anyone that can actually get into the income part and seriously get into it, where you're consistently earning, even if it's a couple $100, I have mad respect for you because I've been there and I know how hard that is. And what I have to say to you is that's a snowball. And if you keep doing it, it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And over time, that is going to pay off. Just don't stop doing it. So the action is important. But the thing we have to watch out for on the action is no learning. Right? I'm so busy that I don't have time to study. I don't have time to read. I don't have time to maybe sit and think about my structures or my business or improve myself. And I've been there too, right? All these things that I'm kind of making fun of, like I've done them all. And to this day, I still have to catch myself and make sure that I'm not turning knowledge into consumption, that I'm not, contradicting my willingness with some kind of an insanity phrase starting with the word but, that my action isn't stopping me from learning, right? If I can have all of these in, then the deposits are easy, right? And you guys know like how to save money. You guys know that we know how to structure the service and put the life insurance and the goal all together. That's a given. You know that we're going to help you find the investments, right? But the deposits part, I can't help you with. Okay, it has to matter enough to you. Your financial independence, your goals and dreams, your family's freedom has to matter enough to you that you are willing to go out there and earn more income. Okay, like I said, as long as it's knowledge, or as long as it's ethical and moral, those are the two boundaries. It's ethical and it's moral. If it doesn't cross those two things, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And everyone here should be able to say that, right? So this is on the knowledge side. And then the final thing that I want to cover is if you're doing this, right, you have your structure. Sorry, you have your capitalization. We'll put these in order from top to bottom instead. You're capitalized, right? You have your structure, you're doing your deposits. I want to kind of tie this all together. There's a reason why the bank does loans on the investing side, right? So the bank does loans because their time goes here. Their time goes into marketing and selling to get more deposits, right? Like I said, their active income far surpasses their passive income. And it's not to say passive income doesn't matter, because you know that that's not true. It's passive income greater than savings, expenses, and taxes. So passive income matters a lot. However, if I'm making hundreds of millions of dollars as a bank in deposits, why would I buy a fourplex? Why would I buy a commercial property that's going to pay me 8-10% on my investment that I have to personally manage, that's going to take my time away from this, so that I can say I own it, it's mine, it's my thing, I get to tell people it's mine, right? The banks, they don't care about that. They do loans because the loans don't take their time. There's no tenants involved, right? If there's no rent moratorium on mortgages in 2020, all these landlords that couldn't collect rent, our clients collected because the funds we work with that they loan money to know that we'll foreclose if they don't pay, right? And so the bank in me says, hey, I need to be focused on my active income, and my passive income cannot interfere. It can't be something that pulls me off. Like I have a client here watching that just straight up kills it in Plexus, right? Network marketing company, they do nutrition, great product. And he understands when he invests, it should not be something that pulls him off of Plexus, because Plexus was the thing that got him there. That was the golden goose. So why would we slay the golden goose in order to buy a parakeet? Right? I'm the same way with my business. I don't own any property. I'm the lender on millions of dollars of property. And it'll always be that way because that's not what I do. I'm not a property manager and a landlord. That's not how I earn my deposits. It's how I earn my interest and my passive, but that's different. So that's how I want to tie this together, because what happens is, we get really caught up in the structure and we never end up doing anything with this stuff. Or we set it up, we don't earn enough income and it takes forever, or we earn enough income and we set it all up, but then we do something like invest in a deal that pulls us off of our income flow, and then the entire thing falls apart and the entire thing unravels on us because we didn't make our money managing fourplexes. We made it, selling supplements, selling financial services, selling carpet cleaning, selling haircuts, selling cars, selling real estate. And it's about continuing the successful action. So guys, what I want to do is I'm going to wrap up here. I want to answer some questions. So if you have questions on Zoom, drop them in the comments. I'll answer them live. If you're on Facebook, we can't talk live, which is sad, but I will answer those just by reading. Good thing I can read. All right, good to see everybody. Justin, good to see you. Ryan, good to see you. Justin says, I'm listening from the Goff family tactical van. That's awesome. Brad, good to see you. Brad says we need to be our own central bank, otherwise the banks will own us. That's exactly it. Like, if you haven't read The Creature from Jekyll Island, that's a great book to start on that talks about how central banking actually works. And when you realize what's actually happening, like what Brad is saying, it's very true that we need to get that out of our lives altogether. Tyler, good to see you. Justin says, I'm becoming my own bank. Tyler, thanks for sharing. Tyler's tagging people, sharing. Like I said, our focus is to create financially educated and solvent families who are achieving greater financial freedom and then sharing the truth about money with their friends, their families, their communities. So a big part of what we do is trying to equip you to share the truth, because what you're learning tonight could change someone's life. So I hope at least one of the people that Tyler tagged here takes this to heart. And Tyler, you're awesome for caring enough to share this with people. Ryan says 10 million to start a bank, pretty sure. It's about 5 or 10, yeah. And I think that's state chartered. I think if you're going federal, it might be even more than that. Justin says most of my family doesn't want to do business with us either. I don't know what it is. I was not equipped for that. I was told, talk to your friends, talk to your family. They're going to be the easiest. They were the hardest, and a decade later, they still are. Like I said, just continue. Like they don't have to be related to you, right? If I have a family member that down the road is like, hey, I'm finally ready to work with you, great. I've helped thousands of families that don't have the same last name as me, and that's what matters. Is I've helped more people. So I totally understand what Justin is saying there. Justin says victor mentality here. That's right. You can be a victim or a victor. And it's about mentality, not circumstance. I've seen some people that are in pretty crappy circumstances that still have a victor mentality. David says, my goal is to ditch my banker. I wonder why he always bought lunch. I'll share a real quick story on this note, David. I had a client that they set up an account with us last year, right? And so we set up our account, self-directed, all the stuff we're talking about. And they ended up ditching because their banker bought them lunch and we did it. And I was trying to explain to them, like, the reason why your banker has enough money to buy you lunch is because they're paying you nothing on your money and using it to invest. And that's why they can afford to give you free lunches. They didn't get it. So I'm glad that David has had that thought. Like, how can you guys afford to buy me lunch when I'm just giving you a savings account? Tyler says, how much time would you say you spend on learning a day versus working on your business? That's a good question. So I'm big on not necessarily time allotments. It's more like utilization. And I learned this, Tyler, when I was probably 18, 19 years old. I had a manager at the time, and he told me, hey, I want you to adapt the mindset that if you learn something and don't use it or share it within 24 hours, it's gone. You'll never get it back. And I took that to heart. I don't think it's true because I've remembered things after 24 hours, but it created this urgency of, okay, I learned something, I immediately need to go use it. So instead of like this many hours per day towards this and this many hours per day towards that, it's more of a cycle of learn, utilize, then go learn again, and then go utilize, and then go learn again, and then go utilize. My friend Bradley says, do more, get better. Right. So I can get better and get better, but if I don't use that to do more, then it's kind of a waste and vice versa. So, if it's finances on the low side, 10 minutes a day, like watch one of our videos, that's an hour a week. You're going to be better off than those that don't. If you're really trying to master sales and marketing and business, it might have to be several hours per day in order to get the traction. Right. And make sure it's the right information too. Because I can spend several hours learning the wrong things from the wrong people, and I'm not actually going to have any traction. Justin says, I'm about to earn more income. I want to launch into Mexico. anyone have any connections there. Nano might actually have some connections in Mexico. Maybe we can do a little hookup there. Tyler says Justin Goff is the king of network marketing. We should have Justin teach a course on that. That would be great. Denisha says, what are your thoughts on being in, what are your thoughts on it being a car resale market? Trade-in value are up right now due to the microchip shortage. Is it a good time to sell, put the equity in the policy, and seek out the strategy of buying / leasing with the policy and leasing to my business? Right now, if I sell my car, it is valued much more than I owe, and I put nothing down when I purchase. If you can sell your car and make money, you will be the first person I've ever met. That will be amazing, Denisha. Yes, if you can sell your car and make a profit, I would definitely do that. You can go buy another one. You can use the Section 179 deduction. You can lease it. You can finance it through your policy. But if you're able to sell at a profit, I've never seen that, just because cars depreciate. And on top of that, the dealer never wants to give you what it's worth. And so they're always going to make you take a haircut because that's the only way they can make profit. So Denisha, if you can do that, you will forever be my hero. Definitely keep me posted on that. Brian Ford says, great conversation. Thank you, Brian. All right, let's open this up on Zoom here. I think we have some questions on Zoom. All right, we have a couple of questions. First one is from Milufar. Let me bring her on live here. All right, we should be live here with Milufar here. Just a second, let me make sure that her mic works. Doesn't look like it does. Okay, let me read that question instead. So the question is, network marketing and MLM, what is the difference? From what I understand, I'm not the expert on this. I don't know that there is a difference so much. And Justin Goff would be a better person to ask this question. From what I understand, when you're in the network marketing or the MLM space, there are different models, right? So there can be something called a binary. You recruit two different sides, and those two sides have to hit certain volume levels. I think that's more of the multi-level because there are different levels. Network marketing, I think you do it more in like spheres. Like I recruit this person and they might recruit 4 or 5 or 6 people on their team, and then I've got like this little pod going on, and it has nothing to do with different sides of the house or a binary structure. So I don't know that there is officially a difference between the two, but that's what I think of. Justin probably has a better answer on that. He's probably easily top 1% in the country, if not the world, in network marketing. So we should have him maybe explain that in the comments if he can. Okay, we have one from Mark here. Let me bring Mark on. All right, we're live with Mark Perry. How are you today, Mark? I think I just muted Mark on accident. Let me unmute Mark again. All right, Mark, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine. How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So what is your question?
Yeah, Jerry, I noticed on one of your Facebook posts, you mentioned that you are buying more gold than you are putting into your banking policy. And you asked if anybody could figure it out. And I'm not sure if maybe I missed it, but what ended up being the final answer?
Yeah, so that was something we covered on our course last week. So if you want to watch the replay, that is available on YouTube. Long story short, I like both of them. The reason why I'm buying more gold and silver right now than putting money to life insurance is, number one, I mech my life insurance policies out really fast. So a life insurance policy has an annual contribution limit, so that's part of it. There's no contribution limit on gold. And then number two, if you've watched our 3-tier banking system video, and you can find that on YouTube if you type in, Jerry Fetta 3-tier banking system, you'll see the difference between what the life insurance is intended for versus what the gold and silver is intended for. And so the life insurance is more of what's considered a tier 1 capital. which is what banks actually do use. So when you put money in a bank, they are actually putting a majority of that initially in life insurance, and that acts as a top grade, top tier reserve account. And then the gold and silver is something that's more of a tier two, considered a revaluation asset, and that's a lot of where they do their borrowing and lending from. So there's nothing about life insurance where gold and silver is better. It's more just the function of it and why one is used versus the other that naturally causes me to put more into gold than life insurance, even though I put a lot into both of them. So great question from Mark there. All right, Denisha says, yeah, I got the quote, inquired based on my emissions guy telling me the value that he wanted to buy. If I decided to sell, I didn't believe him. I'll work on it over the next month or so. That's awesome. So it sounds like Denisha is actually going to be able to sell her car for more than it is worth, which is great. Yeah, I've never met someone that bought a car and then went to the dealer and actually got money out of it. So that's fantastic. All right, guys, I think that is all of the questions that we have on Zoom here tonight. Let me see if we have any more in the comments before we sign out. Again, if you guys are watching this and you have not got my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom, yet, you can grab that if you go to jerryfetta.com /B2F. That's the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. You can get a copy of Blueprint to Freedom. And that walks through not only what we talked about tonight, but it's actually a step-by-step guide. Everyone is in a different spot with their finances. And so this gives you step-by-step, what should I do in what sequence, in what order, in order to actually build up the banking system. And I want to encourage all of you, like, it doesn't matter where you are. I was 18 years old delivering pizza, living in an abandoned shack with my wife the first 2 or 3 months of our marriage. And I'm here now today. So, if you're brand new at this, like, let's continue having you come on. If you've been looking at these and you haven't moved forward with us as a client, grab the book. If you're a client, more power to you. Let's continue pushing. Let me see if we have any questions on Zoom. I think we might have one more. Nope. Okay, great. So guys, I'm going to sign out here. Thank you all for watching. Make sure that you do like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you same time next week.